I've been working as a programmer for many years. Today, while I was thinking about it, I thought how I would start to learn Python because that was the first language I learned and started programming in. And that is the first job I got as a Python developer, so on and so on. So while I was sitting and thinking, I realized, there was a better way or better pathway that I could have taken to learn code. And if today I had to relearn coding in Python all over again, how would I do that? How would I start that process all over again? And how would I optimize that knowing what I know right now, make it so that I can learn programming much more effectively, much more quickly, and being much more deeper in the way I can code and understand programming. So how would I go about doing that, right? So let's start, right? The video in this today's video is going to focus on just that, using my experience. If I had to learn to code in Python in 2024, how would I do that? How would I do that if I start all over again? So the first thing we need to remember in programming is we need to set clear goals, right? Let me bring that title and enlarge it a little bit. So we need to set clear goals as number one aspect to programming. So when we're learning to code, we need to set very clear, enunciated goals. So why are you learning to program? In my case, why am I learning to program in this supposition? So you need to define why you want to learn to code, what direction you want to take in programming. That's data science, web development, automation, AI, or just to make sure that you learn programming and understand what programming is better. Having a clear goal that would define where you need to focus is essential. So if you don't have a clear goal, right, you'll be moving all over the place. So let's create a circle here, and this is just a simple idea. So we have a bullseye over here, right? So if we know exactly what we need to do in programming, right, we would be much more clearer on how we would go approach that. So if we have uh, you know multiple ways in which we if we have an understanding of how, where, when we want to reach, we'll be able to hit that bullseye much easily compared to someone who supposedly doesn't have that clarity. And that's something that I bring in from my experience. I didn't have clarity, so my arrows, as you can see, were overshooting the bullseye by a lot because I got into Python, then I started learning another language, right, and another language, right, while not becoming good at Python. So always remember, you need to set clear goals. If you want to learn Python, you want to learn Python. But what else in your Python you want to learn? Because there are many things in Python, as mentioned: web development, AI, automation, data science, what have you, right? What particular in Python you want to focus towards? You want to learn Python? Then what do you need to learn in that? You need to become a data scientist, so you have a direction. You need to learn the syntax, and then you focus on data science, right? So on and so forth. So setting clear goals is essential if you want to become a good programmer in Python, right? So the first thing was setting clear goals. Now, now that we understand that, back, now that we understand what is the first thing we need to do and exactly what we need to do next, right? What is the second thing we need to do when we're learning Python from scratch? The second thing is we need to get a high level overview of the entire language before we get into the nitty gritty of the language. We need exactly uh, what are the important things in the language that you have to learn, getting the entire overview. So instead of randomly taking courses and not realizing what to do in this canvas, you have this canvas called Python, presumably, right? And in this canvas of Python, right, uh, you don't know there are many things in Python that people can learn, right? As I said, like you needed clear goals. You want to become a web developer or a data scientist, so on and so forth. So Python has a lot of things in it, within it. So what do you do, within that, for you to become a good programmer in Python? What is the thing that you want to focus on, right? But even if you understand all of that, then you need to understand where is what you're looking for. So if you want to supposedly focus on web development, what is in Python that helps you learn web development? What is in Python? What are the basics of Python that you need to learn to become a good professional programmer? Without learning those things, you'll never become a good programmer. So these are the things that you need to understand by getting a high level overview of Python itself. So how do you get a high level overview? If I want to get an overview of Python as a language, including its syntax, readability, and popular use cases, a good way for me to start today is YouTube University. I'll go look up a quick crash course on a video on Python, an hour-long video that or tutorial, because you're not going to learn anything through a high-level 1 hour video that goes over everything, or 2 3 hour video on Python. You're never going to learn that through that video. What you're going to learn is what are the important things in Python, how they look like, how they are used, right? Just an overview, quick overview of those things while you're looking through that video. Potentially, you might even get an idea of what is what in specific fields of Python. So in data science, there are things like NumPy, Pandas. In AI, machine learning, there are certain libraries that you might want to use. In web development, Django, so on and so forth. So that higher level overview you'll get through a video that you'll see that just goes over Python. You're not going to learn anything from that other than just understand exactly what there is in Python and what you need to focus towards as you move towards your uh, Python, your process of learning to Python, right? That's what I'm going to do. Then the third thing that I would do potentially if I want to learn about Python is quite simply I would want to choose a very beginner friendly course that teaches you exactly uh, you know what what you need to learn at the basic levels of Python. So let me bring that title over on the screen. So I'm bringing everything over here so you can go over it step by step and see exactly what we you know what is our step. So the third step is we need to choose a beginner friendly course. So I'm going to do a shameless plug-in here and say that you know we have a very good comprehensive beginner level course in Python in which we go over everything from fundamentals, everything in fundamentals of Python that you need to learn, and every practice that you need to do to internalize that knowledge within our course and our book, basically. So other than that, I mean, again, that was a shameless plug-in. Moving forward, you can you can learn a lot from different things in Python. So basically, there's three different ways that you can choose a course, basically. So there is structured learning courses, free structured learning courses in Python, like Coursera offers Python for everybody and CS50 from Harvard. But those are very structured, but they don't give you the accountability and transparency that you need to follow through, because coding gets tough, it gets difficult. And after a certain point in time, if you're not held accountable, if you're because these poor process platforms will giving you concept or knowledge of Python don't hold you accountable. It's your self discipline that makes you go through the entire course and completing that. So that is a major challenge with these structured courses that are available on the internet. At the same time, we have interactive learning, basically. So we have websites like Code Academy, Free Code Camp that create interactive learning experiences. You code out problems. That's a better way to learn it. But again, the challenge there comes in as to how you want to, potentially hold yourself accountable and be disciplined enough to complete that. And interactive learning is a little better, in my opinion, than structured learning, because that way you can just quickly get to the nitty practical details of coding, and because coding is a practical endeavor, it's not a theoretical. So structured learning gives you a lot more theory than practice, while interactive learning gives you more uh, practical skills than theoretical. And the last thing is, in the 2024, you know, we've seen tools like ChatGPT come in and GitHub Copilot. At this day and age, when you're learning to code programming, and if you're not leveraging these tools, you are not learning to program properly. They help increase your productivity. They help you solve problems. They help you write code that would help you get better. So all of this is essential for you to become good in the basics of the language. So choose a good beginner level course that you need to follow through on, and use AI powered tools to do that. There are two types of courses: structured learning, which is more theoretical, and interactive learning, that is more practical. Choose whatever course that you like better and push ahead on that. After that, though, there's another thing we need to focus on, and this is probably the most important thing. Like, this is going to make or break whether you become a good programmer or not, right? That is to practice regularly. You need to practice programming very, very regularly. Whether you take theoretical course or practical course, you need to be consistent on practicing, right? You need to code out problems. You need to code out everything. Anything you think about, write it in the coding language. Code it out, right? So you start thinking in Python itself. So practice, 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 practice. There's no other alternative to becoming good in a programming language. And that is what I would do. I would go to websites like LeetCode, HackerRank, Code Wars, and just find problems, beginner level problems, not the higher level ones. Just focus on beginner level problems and just start coding them out. Just keep on coding them out, and do as many problems as you need. Write small script, solve simple problems, and before you know it, you'll be a great programmer in Python, right? The next thing we need to focus on is basically coding is something that is very difficult to learn independently. I mean, you can learn it independently, but there are certain problems that neither ChatGPT or would be able to solve, or you'll be able to solve, right? If you have a problem in coding, right? If you have a bug you're not able to find, so on and so forth. For that, you need to join a community. Reddit is filled with programming community. You can join the programming community. You can go join the Python community. You can join Discord servers on Python. Um, you can join, computer course program communities, right? Because there people ask questions and community helps you find problems, find solutions in order to help you stay motivated, basically. And Stack Overflow is a great place to be whenever you get stuck, because in some problems you might not be able to find those answers from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not understanding the context. It's not finding that particular logical issue that you're trying to solve. Or in this, because if there's not a syntax error, it is slightly challenging for you to solve a problem that you're not able to articulate clearly in your head. But if someone else sees it, a more experienced programmer sees it, he's understanding exactly what you want to do, even if you're not clear yourself. And that's where community comes in. They see you, that they help you, they motivate you. So it's a very essential aspect to it, to join a community and exchange ideas, exchange learning, and exchange your problems, right? So that is another important thing that I would do today in 2024 if I'm learning to code in Python. There's another aspect to what I was talking about in practice, right? We were talking about simple scripts and everything, but there's another aspect to it, right? People get into something called tutorial hell, right? Where they just keep on seeing different tutorials on how to how to do programming, so on and so forth, right? And a solution for that is to practice and a bigger solution to that is to just build projects. Look around in your community, see any problems, try to solve that digitally if you can. Find problems that you can solve and build projects early on. As soon as you understand the basic syntax, start creating projects, start coding projects, start solving problems in your community using these projects. It's not about solving problems in community basically, but these new projects, uh, would help you a long way. I waited too long to start building these small projects. I had completed 5 different courses on Python, read 5 different books on Python, and then I was when I started thinking about, I'm good enough in Python. I realized I couldn't code a single project from start to finish. I hadn't coded a single project from start to finish, and that is a problem because that is a completely different ball game when you're coding projects. Like if you're coding small scripts, that's different from coding projects because projects are much more complicated. There are tens of different functions that you might code, and all of these functions need to interact properly with each other. So create simple projects as soon as possible and apply what you've learned in a real world context. Because some simple projects that you could use is use a basic, you could build a basic calculator to build a basic to-do list application, a web scraper using libraries like Beautiful Soup and Selenium, and automation scripts for tasks like remaining files or sending automated emails. In 2024, tools like Jupyter Notebooks and frameworks like Flask and Django make it easier to create more advanced projects like data analysis dashboards and small web applications. Go crazy, like go crazy. As long as you build projects, build any project and go crazy with that, right? So build projects as soon as possible. Now, uh, it's just a separate bullet here, but like this is something that I would really like to emphasize on again. So use AI and modern tools. You're not living in 1990s, right? People in the 1990s were not living in the 2000s, and the people in the 2000s are not living in the 2010s, and people in the 2010s are not living in 2024, right? And the way I'm saying that is within 5 years, the landscape of coding changes exponentially. Let me give you an example, right? In the 1960s, people were using something called assembly language, right? In the 1980s, I think 70s and 80s, around that time, people were using the language. There was another language which was a precursor, which was also very close to assembly language, right? And then in the 1980s and 90s, I think C came in, and so on and so forth. Every progression of coding language made it much easier to code. Some people might say that if you don't know how to code in C, you don't know how to program. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Because uh, if you're talking about that, then it could go all the way back to assembly languages. And when we talk about assembly languages, people had to sit there, write it on a paper tens of times, and understand exactly how one command linked to the other. Every progression in technology is to make it easier for you to learn programming, and your problem and make it more simpler for you to solve problems than to solve the mysteries of the programming language. So the major innovation from the time when I learned to code and the time where you are in is AI and modern tools. They're essential. They're extremely essential for you to learn, because you know uh, this is the future. These tools are there not to make sure that your coding skills are not good, but they're taking out the useless uh, complexity of language syntaxes with something called uh, that they handle all the coding technicalities and you handle all the problem solving issues, right? Because that's ultimately what programmers need to do. They need to solve problems. They need to build programs to solve problems. They don't need to waste their time over syntax bugs, and those things. So that is what this is solving for you. You need to focus on leveraging these tools and inculcate them in your programming process, right? So that is why you need to use modern tools like ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, so on and so forth. Let me just go into the specifics of those tools. So you can use ChatGPT very easily to clarify confusing concepts or code snippets, or write different code that you don't have an idea on how to start. You can use GitHub Copilot while coding to get suggestions or fix your bugs immediately or faster. And you can use platforms that integrate Python with other technologies like Pandas for data analysis and TensorFlow for AI projects. So these are the different tools and their specific use cases in the current day and age. With that out of the way, let's move on to the eighth point thing that I would consider while learning to program in 2024. So if I was learning to code in the current day and age, right? The next thing that I would be focusing on is to leveraging libraries and frameworks as much as possible. When I would start learning coding, I always thought that libraries and frameworks, I'll use them when I know how to code. I need to learn the very basics, the very pure Python, and to solve problems before I start using these, because otherwise I won't become a good programmer. That's a lie. That's a fallacy that I believed in, because these libraries are created to make you more comfortable in solving problems. Again, it comes back to it. You are a problem solver as a programmer. You're not a coder. You're not just writing code. You're not here to go over this ecosystem of languages and their syntax errors and bugs and just writing everything on from scratch. You're here to solve problems. And if somebody's already solved a small problem for you, which is a part of the larger problem that you're solving, why are you wasting time trying to solve a smaller problem that already has been solved? It's the same case as if you're a physicist and you work your entire life on a theory that has already been proven to be false, right? So try to focus on leveraging these libraries, because that is the way for you to push forward. So if you want to manipulate data, use pandas and numpy. So if you're manipulating data, use pandas, and numpy. as libraries. If you are basically using web development, use Flask and Django. If you're using machine learning, use TensorFlow and PyTorch. And if you're in automation, use Selenium and PyAuto GUI. Basically, you need to especially focus on reading the documentation of these libraries, because honestly, learning to read documentation is the very is a skill that is the essential skill if you want to become an advanced level programmer, because most of these people use these libraries and frameworks to solve their problems. And for you to solve your problems, and for you to become a good programmer, understanding the process of going through documentation, going through all the libraries, frameworks documentation is essential key for you to become a good programmer. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the ninth thing I would think about if I was learning to code today, and that is to work on a capstone project, right? So what is a capstone project, right? So once you have built confidence going through all of those things, you're building your own smaller projects like calculators and so on and so forth. A capstone project is a large technical project that you will undergoing to solve problems basically. It's going to be a comprehensive project, like building an entire. If you're in web development, you might want to build the entire Facebook platform instead of just one feature of Facebook. So earlier, when we were talking about projects, we were talking about one features of a large platform. Potentially, you'll be working on building the infinite scroll of Facebook or any other social media site like that, right? But a capstone project is where you build out the entire platform, right? So that could be a capstone project. If you were learning data science, you'd be uh, you'd build a machine learning model that predicts stock prices, presumably, right? If you focus on web development, as I mentioned, you build a complete blog website or social media website using Django. The capstone project is a the final showcase of your Python skills. It shows your skills that you can build a project from start to finish in this respective field that you're trying to specialize in. So is why you'll be working on your capstone project. And lastly, the 10th point is just to stay updated and keep on learning basically, right? You can't sit on your laurels, right? After you build a capstone project, you're ready to apply for jobs. You're ready to go out there in the market and start to find jobs basically. But you need to keep on studying. You need to keep on hitting the books, as they say. Uh, and my drawing is really pathetic, so just presume this is an open book, right? So, you know, keep on studying, keep on reading, because that's the only way you can keep up to date and keep relevant in the field of programming. That's changing every year. It's not even changing. Like 5 years, in 5 years, the landscape of coding course completely changes. So updating yourself, keep on reading, and keep learning. And with that, that is all the things I would consider. That are 10 things that I would think about when I would start to learn to code in Python in 2024, starting all over again and learning Python from scratch. That I'm going to wrap this video up. If you have got any value from this video, please like and subscribe our channel, and let us know in the comments if you want anything you want us to solve or work on related to programming. And with that, I'm going to wrap this video up, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.